Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. I'm Mox.
I'm Rosie. This is Emmy.
And this is Qatar. This was a sprint weekend, so...
The last one.
Thank God. I hate the sprint weekends. I do. I'm sorry.
It always feels so much longer than a normal race weekend.
It really does. Also, it's unnecessarily stressful. Meanwhile, my driver has been out of the championship running since round 4, so...
Look, you're getting Nui next week. Don't worry about it. Next year.
But there was also a new rule just for Qatar. There were it was a mandatory 2-stop pit stop, and the drivers were only allowed 25 laps on each tire compound, solely because Pirelli made a bad tire.
Yeah, I don't know why maybe Pirelli should just focus on being better than drivers on their own.
Why are the drivers having to respond because Pirelli made a bad tire?
I personally quite enjoy races with long stints. I think it's interesting to see who can go that long.
Well, should they? Oh, Emmy's our little featured guest.
That you can't jump up that way. That you will hit your head.
But because it was a sprint weekend, there was only one free practice, so that takes us into FP1. And there was a little fun fact in FP1. Qatar will be the first time Max can take P1 in the championship since Australia.
Which is right at the start of the season.
Yeah. First race. Also, immediately as soon as the drivers got on the track, Alex Albon came onto the radio and was like, hey, I need to change the helmet. I'm seeing double vision. They were like, it's because the lights are reflecting off this visor, but I was like, that's still concerning to me, thank you. Also, we had a bit of an issue with steering.
I was going to say, it was announced that Adrian Newey is becoming the Aston Martin team principal, and Andy Cowell, who is the team principal right now, is becoming chief of strategy.
Yep. We're not going to talk about who might be acting team principal on the weekends, because Adrian Newey doesn't want to travel, okay? I'm ignoring that rumor.
What's the point? So what is the point in becoming team principal?
You don't want to travel? I don't know. I would love to know that. Thank you. Yeah, but we were having issues with steering this weekend. Both Max and Charles. Charles was like, hey, so I know we have power steering. I feel nothing. Concerning.
Well, listen,
and while that was going on, Max was like, hey, so my steering feels weird.
After this, one more weekend, and I never have to see the SF25 ever
again.
Undoubtedly, they will produce something worse, but...
Can it get worse?
It can.
And then... Also, there was a fun fact about Kimi Antonelli. He has scored 40 points in the last 2 races, race weekends, more than any driver other than Max. That's my GOAT.
That's only fun if you're Max.
And yeah, that was basically it for FP1. So it was Oscar Piastri P1, Lando Norris P2, and Fernando Alonso P3. Don't worry, everybody. Fernando Alonso did not last, okay? Shocking.
What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
You should know there's free practices. They're really good. And then they touch the car, and all of a sudden, they're bad again. So, but this takes us into the sprint qualifying. SQ1, they started off with a absolute abysmal fact about Max. Max has never had a sprint pole in Qatar since the sprint happened. And they were like,
No,
it's not going to happen again this year.
do you know who does?
Also, there was a lot of going over the curb and track limits. And the issue is the cars are a lot lower than what Qatar track limits are, because the track limits were meant for MotoGP, not an F1 car. So every time they went over the track, a radio would be played. Can you check the floor for damage? The amount of stress I had.
Sorry, Amy, stop eating my foot.
Also, this is when I was like, oh my gosh, Oscar Piastri is kind of back.
How I missed it.
Yeah. But that was it for SQ1. So the drivers that were out were Franco Colapinto, Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Liam Lawson, and Lance Stroll. Lewis Hamilton, literally, it could not get worse for him.
No. And then Yuki qualified P5. Well, Yuki was P5 here, so I did write that down as well.
Yeah. This is also between SQ1 and SQ2. Max and Lando were noted for impeding each other, and I was like, God forbid they're racing already. There was no further investigation, but I was panicked for the 6 minutes of waiting time before that came up. Set like a flying lap, and everyone's like, wow, that was like the fastest lap of the session. And then he got his time deleted because he went off. And then Isaac Hadjar got his time deleted, which caused both of them to be eliminated. So the drivers that were out were Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, Gabriel Bortoleto, Ollie Behrman, and Isaac Hadjar. It was not a good weekend for Haas or Kick Sauber.
Wow, that's not hard.
Fair enough. And then SQ3, nothing really happened. I just have the poll in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Oscar,
pole position. And then it was George Russell and Lando Norris, which was not a good day for Max Verstappen. Let's not talk about it, okay? Which takes us into the sprint, where both Alpines, Lewis Hamilton and Lance Stroll, all started from the pit lane because they knew it was just going to be a practice run anyways. So they were like, we might as well just take the knockdown.
I love a mother's meeting in the pit lane. Let's get everybody involved.
And then also, it was noted that Yuki Tsunoda actually out-qualified Max Verstappen for the first time since being teammates. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe Red Bull will actually keep him.
I don't think so. Oopsies.
Anyways, lap 1, the lights turned off so slowly. I was like, is there something broken? Like, it was like a good 10 seconds between the lights all being on to them turning off, and I was like, wow. And everyone's like, their tires are so cooled already, and I was like, well,
what can you do?
But when it started, Max and Oscar had a really good start, and Yuki Tsunoda also helped Max passing Alonso because he basically blocked Alonso for Max to get by, which, listen, I'm an Alonso fan first, then a Max Verstappen fan, but because Alonso's not in this championship battle, I have to root for Max. So thank you, Yuki Tsunoda. And thank you, Alonso, for not fighting, because I have a feeling Alonso knew.
Yeah, well, while that was going on, in my circus and my monkeys, Charles was down 4 places.
Likely. Sorry. I mean, what? Who said that? And then it was kind of boring until lap 7 when Max came on the radio and he's like, hey, I need help. Something's wrong with the car. And GP's like, oh, whatever. He did some, I don't know, press A, Control Alt Delete, restart the car, whatever. And Max was like, hey, your radio is completely crackly. I can't understand it. And GP's like, same. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. And we're supposed to be winning a championship with this kind of communication. Hello. Um, uh,
Wow.
Also, on lap 11, I have to note this. I'm so sorry. Liam Lawson, in a Racing Bulls, overtook Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari.
Stop saying in the Ferrari like the Ferrari's a good car. It's not.
I will say the next lap, Liam Lawson was told to give the position back to Charles because he overtook off the track, but I was just like, whoa. And on that same lap, Yuki was given a black and white flag for track limits.
We did also forget to mention that on the start there was contact between George and Lando. He was very brief, but
nothing really came out of it.
yeah.
And then lap 13, Yuki Tsunoda got a 5-second penalty for track limits. He's innocent. And then also a few laps later, exactly one lap later, Lance Stroll pit, and I was like, I didn't know we were pitting in sprints. It was a 4.9 second pit stop, so that was half the sprint gone.
They weren't expecting the pit either, clearly, but
lap 19, Lando had a radio. They were like, hey, reminder to stay on track, which I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. Mind you, every single person was going off the track. They were just airing Landos, but I was like, that's kind of the people who chose to radio that really decided to be like, you know what, let's pick a driver to target today.
Well, like, don't you think he knows that?
I know, I'm like, what?
I'm sure he knows. He doesn't need to be reminded.
Radio. And then Oscar Piastri won the sprint. It was George Russell P2, Lando Norris P3, and then Max Verstappen P4.
And I was like, have a fun fact. Oscar Piastri is the only ever winner of the Qatar Grand Prix for 3 out of 3 in his third season.
Kind of crazy. And I was like, okay, wait, this is going to be really good for Oscar. This is going to be a good weekend.
McLaren, I hate you.
Also, after the race, it was said that Kimi Antonelli was under investigation and he got a 5-second penalty for track limits.
Yes.
So that happened. Fortunately, there was not a lot of damage, so nobody was missing out on qualifying, which was like 2 or 3 hours later. So Q1, a fun fact, is Red Bull basically changed the entire car. All legally, like they were allowed to, but they changed the entire car because Max was like, hey, this is awful. And then also, before the pit lane even opened, Alex Albon literally almost ran into Esteban Ocon in the pit lane. It was noted that was chaotic. That was obviously not Alex Albon's fault. That was obviously the, I don't even know, mechanic?
Yeah.
Would it be a mechanic or a strategist? I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, that was them. But also, fun fact, not so fun fact for me, Max Verstappen, it was a note that Max Verstappen had to finish Qatar in front of Lando Norris if he wants to stay in the championship contention. And I was like, oh, this is not good.
Because for anybody, Piastri, they both had to finish for the championship to go to Abu
Dhabi. Just to note, at least Oscar Piastri, he's known for being good at Qatar. Max Verstappen hates Qatar.
But right, counter, Red Bull love Max and would do anything for Max.
True. AKA change the entire car.
McLaren would say, what? I think you should swap positions because Lando had a slow pit stop.
Also, we'll get into this because it was pre-race. My jaw was on the ground at Zach Brown's comment. But basically everyone was flying in a Q1. Fernando went P1, Gasly went P1, Hulkenberg, Bortoletto all went P1, and I was like, what is happening? And neither McLaren went first, and then they went first and the people who were out were Franco Colapinto, Lance Stroll, Lewis Hamilton, Esteban Ocon, and Yuki Tsunoda. Once again, Hamilton is out in Q1. And something to note, Yuki Tsunoda was also out, which was
Sad.
Also not very good for his future. Basically, Red Bull was like, so we're testing you. You have to be perfect in order for us to not drop you. And unfortunately, Yuki Tsunoda got out in Q1.
The dreaded Red Bull seat.
He also was like, I tried my best. We literally had no speed. And Max said the same exact thing. And they were like, well, Max did it. Tough luck. I was like, this is giving Checo last year when Checo was like, hey, so the car's broken. And they were like, well, not according to Max. And then Max was like, hey, the car's broken. And they're like, how do we fix it?
And then they said that they should have listened to Checo in 2023. That's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. And then that takes us into Q2, which really nothing happened except Lando set a time, and it was really fast, and he got track limits. And 7 minutes to go, he had no time left to set a lap. And I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. He has no time set. He might get out. This might be good for the championship. And then he set a time, and he got through. It was flying, likely from McLaren. But Alex Albon, Gabriel Bortoletto, Ollie Behrman, Liam Lawson, and Nico Hulkenberg were out. Which takes us into Q3, where the McLarens were flying.
I have one note for Q3.
I have 3 notes. First of all, I have McLarens are flying, ... because they weren't flying until Q3. I had hope until Q3. I have Charles spun. Like, it was a pretty bad spin. Fortunately, there was a lot of space between him and the wall, so he didn't hit the wall. And then Carlos Sainz had, like, the entire sticker from his floor in his garage on the bottom of his car.
Well, none of those were my notes.
Yeah, I know what your note is, so you can say it.
Oscar Piastri pole position.
I was at work and I got the notification. I literally gasped, and my coworkers were like, "What?" I was like, "Sorry, Oscar Piastri just got pole position for the first time. I feel like in months." And then it was Lando Norris P2, and then it was Max Verstappen P3. This is when Max Verstappen, the Max Verstappen community went, "Yep, it's over. See you in 2026." I was miserable for that the rest of the day. But that takes us into the race. We need to note that Colapinto had a pit lane start.
Poor guy.
Mind you,
I don't know.
Both Alpines were in the pit lane for the sprint and for the race. Well, Colapinto was in there for the race. Crazy.
Mind you, it is an Alpine. Can't be too surprised.
I know, but like Alpine. Literally back-to-back races, that's kind of crazy. Maybe if the car was pinker. Anyways. Lap 1, Max Verstappen overtook Lando Norris. Beautiful overtake. Oscar Piastri kept the lead. George Russell dropped 3. And Lewis Hamilton went up 3.
Wow.
And then nothing really happened until lap 5, where Max was like, hey, I have really bad balance shifts on left-hand turns only. Lovely. Love that. Fantastic. I want to die. And then lap 7, Esteban Ocon was noted for a false start. And then a yellow flag came out. Nico Hulkenberg spun out. It looked awful. Wasn't actually that bad, but it looked pretty bad. But I think it was because of the dust. I thought he was smoking. Like, I thought the car was smoking. And then they were like, that's a lot of dust around his car. And I was like, okay, thank God. I thought he was on fire. And basically, I guess what happened is Nico Hulkenberg and Pierre Gasly were going into a turn. Basically, what happened with Oscar Piastri in Coda?
Yes.
Was it Coda?
I think.
Where he got the 5-second penalty versus somebody else.
Tommy, where did you get that from?
Yeah. Nico Hulkenberg spun out. He hit Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly's floor was sparking. They said that like on lap 2 or 3, but nobody knew where it was from. And then the yellow flag, he hit him again, and Pierre Gasly's floor was really sparking. And this brought out a yellow flag and then a safety car. Reminder, every driver has to pit at least twice because they can only go 25 laps on these tires. So the entire grid, I mean, every single driver that was still driving pit, except both McLarens and Esteban Ocon. McLaren, I understand you don't want to choose between a driver. You're like, there's no team rules here. We're not favoring a driver. We're going to let them fight it out, and whoever has the better strategy, fine, whatever. I understand it. However, what do you mean you didn't pit one driver? At this point, I don't care who it is. Why wouldn't? Why? Mind you, like, every other team was double stacking. It wasn't like they were going to lose time.
Well, also, like, what?
Oh, don't worry. The next lap, Ocon pit.
Yeah, but Haas aren't fighting for the championship.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Haas. I don't know how to say it. I've lost all comprehension skills right now. They pit Ocon, who's not even in contention, but McLaren went, no, we're staying out. Even Lando had to come on the radio and he's like, so, shouldn't we have pit?
And they were like, he was like, shouldn't we have pit if we know the car ahead is, meaning Max? And they were like, yeah.
They literally didn't give him a response.
Well,
till I think lap 10. Yeah, so lap 9. So the same time Lando was like, hey, shouldn't we have pit if Max pit? Esteban Ocon got a 5-second penalty for a false start. And then the next lap, they got the announcement that the safety car was coming in. GP comes onto the radio to Max and was like, hey, the McLarens will be pushing because you have fresher tires, but they want to stay ahead of you. They will be pushing. Max was like, okay. And their GP was like, save your tires. And Max is like, okay, they're 10 times faster than me. I can't let them build that gap. Yeah. Basically, Max was his own strategist. He was like, I don't really care. Actually, Hannah Schmitz, I love you. And this was also the time where Lando Norris was told, hey, so you're going to be pitting at lap 25. So build a gap. Build a gap between you and build a gap between Max. Please. And so everyone knew McLaren was going to be double stacking at lap 25. And then 2 laps later, well, on lap 11, Esteban pit again because he had to serve his penalty, his 5-second penalty. And then the next lap, he was noted for not serving his penalty properly because somebody touched the car.
Like, I don't understand what... We've had this multiple times this season. Just don't touch the car. Just don't touch it.
It's Haas. What do you expect? Sorry, that was mean. But, like, let's be real here. It's Haas.
It's not just Haas. It's Haas Ferrari.
Yeah. And then lap 22 is when Oscar came on the radio, and he's like, so the front left is struggling a bit. When I was at a bar watching this, almost everyone cheered. The Max fans cheered, the Lando fans cheered. And I was like, the poor 3 Oscar fans here are like, uh-oh. So that basically meant McLaren had to pit Oscar first. So on lap 24, Oscar pit. It was a 3.1 second pit stop. And then because every tire could only drive for 25 laps, Lando was then pit in lap 25, at lap 25. And that was a 2.2 second pit stop. Max Verstappen took the lead. I was like, okay, everybody, don't pit again. And I was like, wait a minute. He has to lap again. He has to pit again, doesn't he? Excited happening until lap 30 when Charles came on the radio and he's like, hey, so can we watch George Russell at turn 10 every time we're approaching because he keeps going off and he's not getting noted. And I was like, okay, first of all, how does he know he's not getting noted? Is he watching it somehow? Second, sir, you are in a car that seems to be about to blow up. Why are we focusing on anything other than keeping that car alive?
Well, Stroll was also noted for speeding in the pit lane as well. I don't know if anything came of that in the end, but
I think he got a 5-second penalty. I think. But then lap 32, 16 cars pit. Only one I really cared about, Max Verstappen pit. It was a 2.5 second pit stop. And while they were showing Max leaving, George Russell and Isaac Hadjar once again almost hit in the pit lane. Nothing came out of it because apparently George was ahead enough, but it was like, it was close.
yeah.
It was close. And then that was the pit stop where Ollie Behrman got an unsafe release. And this was a very unsafe release. He was dropped while the rear tires were not screwed in. And he didn't know what was going on. He's trusting that he's being dropped at the right time. So he tried to go, pulled the jack forward. And he was noted for an unsafe release. And he was so upset about it.
Well,
I felt so bad for him.
Not his fault at all.
I think he was just upset because he's like, I trusted this team and they just dropped me and I'm 100% getting noted for that. And he was having a pretty good race before then. And then the next lap, a lap later, Yuki Tsunoda was noted for an unsafe release and they didn't show a replay of that. So I don't think anything came of it. And Lando was asking, he's like, hey, can you check for floor damage? I hit the curb hard.
Yeah.
Once again, the bar erupted in cheers from the Max fans. I was like, wow, this is a crazy atmosphere to be surrounded by. And then lap 40, Ollie Behrman was noted and got a 10-second stop and go penalty.
It's a little bit harsh.
Yeah. And then, like, while that was going on, there were a bunch of radios back and forth between Lando and Oscar and their engineers. And they were like, hey, do you want to try soft tires? Do you want to try hard tires? Do you want to try hard tires? And Oscar was asked, and he goes, I want soft tires. I want to be able to fight for this podium. So that was on lap 41. On lap 42, they called Oscar Piastri into pit. It was a 1.8 second penalty.
Pit stop, mean.
A pit stop, sorry. Crazy, 1.8 seconds. The exact opposite of what he asked for. I was like, sir, why did you even ask if you just decided to go against it? And while that was going on, Fernando spun. Because, you know what? He just needed a little bit of excitement in his life. Yeah, that happened. And then lap 45, Lando pit again. It was a 2.7 second penalty and a 2.7 second pit stop. I don't know why I keep wanting to say penalty, but here we are. And this was also the lap Charles Leclerc finally got his prayers answered. George Russell got a black and white flag for track limits. Something went Charles's way for once this season. And this was also when all of a sudden I looked up and Carlos Sainz was P3. And I was like, wait a minute. Where did this guy come from?
That's what I'm saying. Where did he come from?
Like, you know those jokes on Twitter that's like George Russell does nothing, wins the race?
Yeah.
I really feel like Carlos Sainz does nothing in the sense of like, he doesn't have a crazy strategy. He doesn't really have a lot of damage because he's not really going for the gaps that are offered to like people higher up because they have a better car. And all of a sudden he gets a podium and I'm like, wait a minute, where did he come from? So lap 47, he radioed in and he's like, so I really want to go for this podium. I think we should go for it. And Williams was like, go for it. Williams is just so happy that they're even considered a good team again. So Williams just like, sure, do whatever. I don't care. And while that happened, Ollie Behrman was out of his car and crying on the pit wall.
Not that there's anything wrong with crying. Get that clear.
I just don't know what happened.
We love
I
we love
I
men.
kind of think it's important that athletes like that cry. I was just shocked he was DNFing.
Yeah, I don't
Because
know
like
why
he
that
wasn't
happened
reporting
either.
any issues, and then all of a sudden he was on the pit wall crying, and I was like, wait a minute. First of all, why is he crying? Second of all, who hurt this child?
Yeah, they're
Like,
all.
yeah. So it can't get worse. But then literally Carlos was like, I'm going for it. He pushed. You could tell the gap was getting wider. And all of a sudden on lap 52, he was like, guys, I have an issue. Something's going on. And I was like, another safety car. Please don't give me another safety car. Max Verstappen is P1. I can't do this. No safety car. No, zero, zilch. Nothing happened, thank God. Until lap 56 out of 57. Isaac Hadjar gets a puncture.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey guys, I've got a printer."
And
Two
then they show
laps
the
to go,
car, and
mind you.
he did bring it home. He raced the entire way. He never DNF'd. But he had a tire puncture from something. Still don't know what it is. And then lap 57, which is the final lap, it was Max, Oscar, Carlos, Kimi, and Lando. And Lando was getting up and up and up with like closer to Kimi. And Kimi Antonelli was putting up a good fight. He had a little bit of understeer. He went off. He tried to keep himself on while not trying to hit Lando. He let
went
Lando by.
wide.
Okay, I shouldn't say he let. Lando went by him. GP
Yeah,
came onto the radio and was like, Max.
Lando overtook him. Not.
Yeah. GP came on the radio and he's like, Max, I don't really know what just happened. Kimi Antonelli just let Lando by. Do your own race. You're still going to win it. Bring it home. And he did bring it home. Max Verstappen won the race. It was Max Verstappen P1,
By the way,
Oscar Piastri P2, and Carlos Sainz P3.
McLaren, a word. You could have had a P1 on there if you didn't fuck it up.
Well, it's McLaren. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, and it was the wrong McLaren driver.
But after GP's little comment, Helmut Marko then went on to say Kimi Antonelli is helping another team and he should be disqualified because he's on a different team and he shouldn't be helping another team. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I don't really know what he was saying. I don't listen to that old man. But anyways, Kimi Antonelli got so many death threats and such hateful comments that he changed his profile picture on social media to black. Whoever you are, I will find you.
I just don't understand who keeps putting a microphone in front of Helmut Marko.
A man.
Stop it. Like, he never has anything useful.
Mind you, these hate comments were happening. GP was told by Total Wolf himself, Antonelli did not let Lando by. He was trying not to hit Lando after he had an oversteer. And we saw that on camera, and yet Antonelli got all of these comments. It's disgusting. It shouldn't have happened. Red Bull Racing put out an apology-ish. I'm saying ish, strongly-ish. There wasn't really we apologize. It's just we are against comments like this. Helmut Marko did actually apologize. That was a good time to put a microphone in front of his face. He's like, I rewatched the footage. I shouldn't have said what I said about Antonelli letting Lando by, and I'm sorry that I did. I was like, okay, great. And then Mercedes went, you know what? We'll do one further. We are going to the FIA. And I was like, listen, I'm all for defending a driver. However, what is the FIA going to do? And once again, they proved to do nothing. They just put out a statement that was like, we are against bullying.
I do think it is a little bit icky that they would do it for this, but not for the
Lewis Hamilton comments?
Yeah, the torrents of abuse that Lewis, Yuki, Alex, all the non-white drivers.
No. Okay. The FIA didn't do it for Alex or Yuki or Checo because Red Bull didn't bring it to them.
Well, no, but you know what I'm
Are we shocked? Are we shocked Red Bull didn't bring that to the FIA's attention? No. If you are, you must be new here. However, Mercedes not bringing it to the FIA's attention about the nasty comments about Lewis Hamilton, and bringing attention to Kimi Antonelli's comment section is very telling of an organization.
Yes, especially when back like 2007, 2008, Lewis nearly got banned for 6 races, I think, saying because he said maybe it's because I'm black too.
He also almost got disqualified for wearing jewelry. Like, what? But anyways, because of Max Verstappen's amazing strategy, thank you, Hannah Schmitz. Max Verstappen is still in the championship, and he overtook Oscar Piastri in the championship. He is now P2. There are, 12 points? Let me check. Is it 12
Yeah,
points?
Max is 12 points behind Lando. Oscar's 16 points behind.
And all three are still in the championship battle, which means in Abu Dhabi, it's going to be a crazy battle. And also, we got some news this week. We got the Red Bull Racing seats, which means the grid is set. Yuki Tsunoda has lost his seat. He's going to be the reserve driver and test driver for Red Bull Racing. Arvid Lindblad has been promoted from Formula 2 to Formula 1 and is taking Isaac Hadjar's seat in Racing Bulls and is going to be Liam Lawson's teammate. And Yuki, not Yuki,
Isaac
Hadjar is going to Red Bull Racing.
The dreaded second seat time.
Opinion time. Here's my unpopular opinion. I think this is the best time for Isaac Hadjar to move up to Red Bull Racing because of all these new regulations to compare it to. They can have Max's stats from this year and see where Isaac lines up with Max, but they don't really have Max in this exact car. They can have him in the simulations and see where Isaac is lacking or whatever. I don't know. And if the car is as bad as Max is making it out to be, because Max was like, you know what, it really depends on the end of the 2026 season to see if I'm going to continue with Red Bull Racing in the career. Max Verstappen is saying, even though they based the car off of Max Verstappen, Isaac Hadjar has a chance. And that also means if Max Verstappen is announcing his retirement, they are going to be looking for a Max Verstappen. And between Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar, I do think Isaac Hadjar is more of a driver like Max Verstappen than Liam Lawson.
So Arvid Lindblad he was in practice for Silvo, and
I'm so excited for him.
Another British driver. So we have Arvid,
5,
Alex, Ollie, Lewis, Lando, George. Sorry to everybody else, but
what is it? 25%? No.
Yeah, it's like 6 out of 24. So yeah, it's like
25%.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Quarter of the grid is British, and we shall see you in Abu Dhabi.
The championship decider.
Well, maybe we'll see you in Abu Dhabi.
Maybe we'll or not.